I love walk-off wins. They are some of the most exciting in all of baseball, but I promise it probably wouldn't kill the Mariners to win one of those games, which is closing it out. What is up? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back and welcome into the Seattle Mariners post-game recap. The Mariners defeat the Minnesota Twins today 2-1. They improved to 32-26 on the season, and they remain in first place in the American League West, and they get a huge series win here against the Twins as well. Before I go any further, as always, do me a favor, the like button, hit it. It helps tremendously. Comment your thoughts on the team and the game down below. And if you're new, lurking, maybe just watch the videos but haven't hit that sub button yet, please go ahead and do so. It helps out my channel tremendously with my growth. So thank you all so much for your support. As always, channel members, we will have a stream this week, I promise. And I'll put in the community tab there what date that will be on. I think as frustrating as the series was at times, right? I mean, listen, the Mariners had 3 leads in the 9th inning and blew all 3. But they do find a way to win a series. It's something we would have taken coming into this one. This is a good Minnesota Twins team. This is not a team that you have to get style points against to beat. Whereas, when you beat the White Sox 2 out of 3, you're kind of looking at it going, yeah, they got it done, but they didn't look great doing it. Minnesota's a quality ball club. They've got good pitching, a lights-out bullpen. I think the offense has some spots that aren't great, but overall, I think it's a solid enough offense. And the Mariners went toe-to-toe with them for 3 games, right? This was a very evenly played series. It just happened to be where the Twins were the team that came back 3 times in the 9th. But the Mariners come back from a 3-0 deficit yesterday and win. They resiliently come back after letting up the lead in the 9th inning today and win it, same as yesterday. This was a really even series, and that's fine. The Twins are a good team. There's nothing wrong with being even with a team like that. And when you have a 3-game series, you can't split it. And the Mariners just happen to come up on the right side of it here, and that's a good thing. They need it, right? Wins ultimately what gets you into the playoffs. And I think you're starting to see the pitching really come into form here. I thought Luis Castillo was absolutely outstanding. Something he's really been since Logan Gilbert went down. And without George Kirby, there was a couple hiccups in there, but every pitcher has those. He had the start where he wasn't great in Cincinnati and Toronto, but other than that, Castillo's been outstanding, absolutely outstanding, and doing exactly what you needed. Not only, did you need the quality performance today with how low scoring it was and wanting that quality performance out of the starter, but it was a game again where your bullpen was taxed, right? Even though you did have Brash and Munoz available today and Bizardo, but boy, had that game gone to extras, it probably would have been Casey Lawrence time there in the 10th inning. So for Castillo to give you 6 quality innings is huge, absolutely huge. And not only does he give you the 6 innings, it's 6 shutout innings, which help lead to a victory. So, the ERA for Castillo is down to 3.03. Cannot say enough about how crucial his performance has been for the Mariners this year. And it's so funny because, last year, remember, I think after each start, I'd say, you know what, I think Gilbert says, you know what, give me Kirby game 1. You know what, Brian Woo's the guy. Sometimes it just always comes back to Castillo. And I don't necessarily think he is the best pitcher in this rotation, but he hasn't missed a start. He goes out there, gives you those just leader, those veteran quality starts, and not just like veteran quality as in, he went 5 innings, 3 earned runs, Tommy Malone style. High quality starts where he is legitimately dominating and looking sharp. And the velo looked great today. The command control was fantastic. Really, really impressive start for Luis Castillo. It's going to get kind of lost in this game a little bit, but I thought Castillo was absolutely filthy today and, helps lead the team to a huge win. Cal Raleigh, again, it just every game with this guy, and it stinks they didn't win it 1-0 because it's been really great to jump into this right away with the MVP performance continues from Cal, but unfortunately give it the run, and, it certainly, the home run doesn't get forgotten, but gets lost in the shuffle a little bit. 23 home runs already for Cal. The guy's going to have over 30 by the All-Star break, probably pretty easily. And maybe not easily because home runs can come in bunches. Sometimes guys can slow down, but there's a good chance this guy's going to be sitting at 30 home runs in the All-Star break. I cannot say enough about Cal Raleigh. Honestly, just give him $50 more million. Like I said yesterday, I know this ownership group wouldn't even think about doing that, but just give it to him. I don't care. He's earned it. Add it into the contract after the fact. I don't care. Just, like I've talked about, not only just the hitting, right? I mean, we know how good Cal is. His OPS now sits at, it probably went down today. That's how good Cal's been. Let me refresh the box score here. Cal's OPS now stands at 1.016. I do think it went down today. That's crazy. You hit a home run in the game and your OPS drops. But what he does behind the plate as well. I mean, we're talking about one of the best defensive catchers in baseball, one of the best at working with a pitching staff. I mean, we know how the pitchers rave about working with Cal Raleigh. Also, he has played in every game this season. Now, he's DH'd a handful, quite a few, right? Mitch Garver has caught. So it's not like he's caught every single game. But that's rare for a starting catcher, even to just on the off day DH. He had one game where he wasn't in the lineup at all. That game against Oakland, game against Sacramento, or game against the A's. I don't know sometimes what to call him. Oh, and guess what? That game where he didn't start against the A's, the only game he didn't start. He had the game-winning hit. So, I mean, that's the one game where he was going to have the full day off. He had the game-winning hit in that game. I mean, this guy is just absolutely incredible, and just a tremendous, icon for the city of Seattle and the state of Washington, and just baseball in general. Just someone that should absolutely be the face of MLB, or in the group of people that are faces of MLB, in my opinion. So what I mean, just I could gloss over Cal Raleigh, not gloss over, praise Cal Raleigh for 35 minutes and just go with that. I'm run out of things to say about him. He's just been that good. Randy and Julio come through big in the ninth inning. Julio gets the infield hit, and then steals second. And then by stealing second, catcher throws away. Julio moves to third. And Randy, someone that we've kind of gotten on for trying to do too much, doesn't try to do too much and gets the walk-off single and wins it for the Mariners. We've talked about that with Randy so many times, where it looks like he is just swinging for the downs every time he comes to the plate. And he didn't do it in the ninth inning. It looked like he tried to kind of stay within himself a little bit. Even the foul ball he hit down the line, smart play there by Larnach to let that go. I think it was in the crowd anyways. I don't think he would have had a chance, but he clearly stopped and was willing to let it go. But even that fly ball, if Larnach catches that wins the game. So it's nice to see him just trying to put the ball in the air, get the ball through, and do his job. And more of that can lead to, scoring some more runs for this team. So, certainly not a great offensive performance. I thought Paddock threw the ball legitimately well. And while the offense has been more frustrating in May, I do think they've run into some pretty good pitching performances. It's always a combination of both, right? It's not just that the Mariners offense was bad today. Paddock does deserve credit. He threw the ball legitimately well. The Mariners probably could have done better. There's no doubt about that. I'm not saying that this was a acceptable performance necessarily. They should and could have done better, but the pitcher deserves credit as well. And yesterday I didn't really talk about it much, but they actually did a pretty nice job against Bailey Ober. Got him out there after just 4+ innings with 3 runs and had runners at the corners there. Could have easily put up 4 runs on him in 4 innings, and kind of made a dent there. So, and they did a good job Friday night. I forgot who the starting pitcher was for the Twins, but they did a good job Friday night as well. So, I do think Paddock deserves credit for that start. I say, like, we give our starting pitcher credit when they dominate. The other team, deserves that credit as well at times. It doesn't mean the offense hasn't been scuffling more. Well, we're in June now, but more in this May through, I guess, the start of June. It certainly has been, but I do think pitchers are just, throwing the ball well. And that's why games like this are key. Finding a way to pull it out. And they're starting to get the pitching starting to come together a little bit. So, yeah, you had the offense here and the pitching here. It's starting to do this a little bit. It's starting to even out. And it's certainly starting to look a little bit more like what we saw in 2024. But if the offense can just kind of maintain that, 10th WRC plus in baseball, somewhere in that range, 12th and 13th in runs scored, and you get Logan healthy, you get Kirby right, Bryce Miller starts to lock it in a little bit. If not, you go to Logan Evans. You keep getting what you're getting out of Castillo, Wu, Hancock, the back end of that bullpen. Maybe you get Jackson Kowar becomes a weapon. I do think you're fine. The offense was second in baseball in WRC plus for forever. We talked about after every game how locked in the offense was. Feels like we haven't talked about that in a while outside of maybe that Nationals first game of the series, but they're still ranked, I'm sure, within the top 10 of those numbers, and overall numbers certainly do matter. And, I think if they can maintain that, you like to see better performances, obviously, than what we've seen the last couple of weeks. But I think if they can do that, the team, has a good chance to make some noise here. So we'll see how that ends up rounding into form. Another piece of good news we've seen, like I said, Logan's on the mend. We've seen him make rehab starts. Luke Raley is going to be getting a rehab assignment here soon. That's going to be a nice upgrade. And then all of a sudden you look at this lineup that for a few weeks now, the bottom of the order has been, Tavares and Mastroboni and Williamson and, the other half of the Garver Solano situation. But now you look at it and you're going to have, Williamson firmly in the 9 hole. Then you've got Cole Young, you've got Luke Raley, so it does start to lengthen out the lineup a little bit more as you get those guys back. And that should certainly help this offense a bit. So let's go ahead and dive into the box score here. Like I said, Luis Castillo, fantastic, 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. That might have been as good as he's looked this season, honestly, just from start to finish. You didn't have that one inning where just lost it a little bit. Maybe the Yankees game as well would be up there. Probably that one because of the Yankees lineup being so good. But man, I just cannot have enough good things to say about Luis Castillo. And, a guy that's kind of been, like I said, not forgotten a little bit, but kind of pushed aside as more of he's more of a backing guy. Even I've said it at times, I think Castillo may be more of a 3-4 at this point. He has absolutely stepped up when the rotation has definitely needed it. Edward Bizardo, a shutout inning, no hits, no walks, no strikeouts. It might be time. I'm starting to believe in Bizardo again. You guys know the back and forth I have. And as soon as I say I'm believing in him again, he's going to get shelled his next outing. But it's gone a little unnoticed. I talked about it yesterday because he's pitched in so many low leverage spots. But he was huge in this series. Gave him 2 1/3 shutout innings between yesterday and today for the Mariners and helped bridge that gap to Brash and Munoz in the 9th inning. So, listen, I'm not saying Bizardo is perfect by any means. He has flaws, but I don't think he's any worse than Snyder Legumina, who's now back in Tacoma. We'll see how Coar plays out. Vargas has been better for sure. But I do think there's a good reliever in there in Bizardo. I mean, he's been pretty good this year. He's just had some moments, but I don't think he's been awful or anything like that either. I think we have the Jake Fraley grand slam in Cincinnati in our heads, but you take that out, I don't think there's been a lot of truly brutal outings for him this year. I think he's generally been fine. He's just been kind of pushed to the back because you've gotten better performances for other guys. Be clear, I'm not saying Bizardo should be your new, next man up behind Munoz or Brash, but wouldn't shock me here if we do start seeing him in some tighter ball games going forward. So nice job today and this series by Bizardo. Brash was good in his inning, a hit, no walks, no runs, 2 strikeouts. Did hit a batter, not the worst with Wallner there, 3-1. You don't love moving a runner into second base in that situation. Oh, I forgot to do the scoring recap, didn't I? Oh, well, no scoring recap today, I guess. Maybe we'll get to it before we get to the offense. But you feel Wallner's such a good hitter there. It's not the worst thing in the world to walk him or put him on. And then he gets Correa to strike out, there as well. So Matt Brash continues to be great since coming back from the injured list. Munoz in the 9th. Okay, 1 inning, 1 hit, 1 run. It was earned, a walk, 2 strikeouts. Gets the win. Okay, I didn't see the game on Friday. It was just following it online, so I don't necessarily know how hard Munoz got hit. I know he gave up the home run to Castro. I would venture to say Friday was just rough. Munoz didn't have it. The slider was not particularly sharp today, so I don't want to pretend that Munoz was just unlucky all around. I didn't think it had the great bite that it normally has. I don't think he was at his sharpest in the 9th inning. I also think he was fine. I really do. I think baseball, that's how I describe the 9th inning. The pitch to Cody Clemens, the 3-2, he did miss his spot. I want to be clear on that. It's tough for umps when players, a catcher set up here, the ball's down here, and it's still in the zone. It was on the edge, and I get it. I'm not going to rip the umpires here. I'm in favor of the automatic ball strike system, but, it was not the easiest pitch I get to identify, but it was a strike. He struck out Cody Clemens. If that could be challengeable, that would have been strike 3, and it would have been 2 outs with 1 on, 1 more to get. Ty France gets a hit that, if that thing is 3 feet to the right or left, however you want to look at it, 3 feet closer to JP, is the easiest double play ball ever. It was a ground ball that just got through. Listen, the Mariners hit those too. I'm not trying to take that away. Like Ty France did his job there, right? That's what he came up to and advance the runner and keep the inning alive for the Twins. But it's not like Ty France banged one 390 feet off the wall. This was not whatever Tuesday, Wednesday night against the Nationals when Colin Snyder gave up 7 fly balls that went 400 feet. Snyder bounced back yesterday, which was so Snyder definitely redeemed himself yesterday, but it wasn't anything like that. It was a ground ball that got through the hole. The wild pitch isn't good, right? That's on Munoz. That's on a lack of control. And you'd like with 2 strikes there, you'd think that he could finish off Harrison Bader with a slider down and away a little bit there. So Bader able to lift it and get the sac fly. But even there, if that throw from Julio doesn't kind of bounce weird off the mound, I wonder if they have a play at the plate. And then he strikes out Brooks Lee after that. Again, not the best we've seen Andres Munoz by any means. I don't think he was dominant in the 9th, but I do think he was fine. I don't think this was some, oh my gosh, Munoz blew it. Munoz blew it in the 9th. You could play that 9th inning 90 times like that with the same, with everything the same, and that strike to Cody Clemens is called. And then even if France gets a hit, it doesn't really matter necessarily. So I thought Munoz was okay. I did not think, and again, I didn't watch Friday night, so you guys can attest to that. I felt like that one was a pretty legit blown save. You had the Castro home run, but even there, I think the Buxton and Larnach singles weren't exactly hit all that hard either. Not trying to make excuses. It's disappointed that Munoz has blown 2 saves. And that's not good. You don't want that because it could have cost them the game today, right? The Twins were able to bring in Griffin Jacks after that. And they also would have had, that Varlin guy we saw yesterday. I don't know who else I'm missing, but some other guys, Stewart maybe. I'm not sure who else would have been able to come in for them, while the Mariners would have been stuck with Casey Lawrence. So if that doesn't get one in the 9th, it could have been pretty brutal for the Mariners. But my point I guess I'm making is 0, and I mean 0 concerns for me about Andres Munoz. He's fine. It's like the slider to bite a little bit more, but I don't think I see anything like, I'm not an expert, but I don't see anything that I think is mechanically off necessarily. Let's do the scoring recap real quick. Then we'll talk about the Mariners offense. There we go. In the bottom of the 7th, Cal Raleigh homered on a fly ball to right field. His 23rd home run made it 1-0. Top of the 9th, Harrison Bader was out on a sac fly that scored Cody Clemens that tied the 1. And the bottom of the 9th, Randy Arozarena singled on a ground ball to center that scored Julio Rodriguez. That was your scoring for the Mariners' 2-1 win. Offensively, Mariners collect 6 hits, only 1 walk, 11 Ks. Oh, Castillo also threw 97 pitches today. Yeah, I mean, Paddock was outstanding. 8 innings, 4 hits, 1 run. It was earned, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts. He deserves credit. He was dominant. Like I said a few minutes ago, sure, the Mariners could have done more against him, absolutely. But he was absolutely fantastic. Pounded the strike zone, hit the edges. He was great. He deserves credit for his outing today. JP had a solid game. He was 2 for 4 with a double in this one, a single and a double. OPS up to 773 for JP. Polanco 0 for 4. Polanco's OPS now down to 801, which is good overall. If that's where he wants to finish the year, we will absolutely take that from Polanco. I will say a couple balls hit pretty hard. A couple fly balls. The one to dead center field that Bader caught was hit, I think, 106. He had another fly ball to right field that was hit pretty well. So encouraging from that aspect. A couple balls hit harder for Polanco. It's time to move him down in the order, though. And I would move Cal up. I'm trying to get Cal as many at-bats as possible. I understand the RBI stuff and you want guys behind that can drive in runs, but Polanco's not getting on base for you right now. I would go JP, Cal, Julio, probably Randy, and then Polanco after that. That gives you someone, if Polanco does get hot behind those guys that can help a little bit. But you got to move Polanco down at this point. I mean, I can't remember the last extra base hit he's had. I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know if he's just struggling. That's for the Mariners to figure out, but I think you've got to move him down in the order right now. I get it, without Luke Raley, with still some questions about, you don't want to put all that pressure on Cole Young and bust him, put him up in the 2 spot. You're not going to move Ben Williamson up to that spot. So I get there's not like a ton of options necessarily right now, and that's probably what Dan would be saying if he was being candid about the lineup. But I think you have to stop giving Polanco this many at-bats. I'm not saying take him out of the lineup. The overall numbers are still good enough where I'm okay with him being in there. And it's not like Garver's crushing the ball where he needs more DH at-bats or something, or Solano, and you could DH Rowdy. There's really nobody else that I would be giving DH at-bats to. So I don't have a problem with him being in there. When Luke Raley comes back, that might be a little interesting because you could put Tavares and right, Luke at DH, something there that might be, benefit the Mariners. But right now I have a problem with it, but I would be moving Polanco down for sure. Julio was 1 for 3 with the base hit and a walk. Julio on base twice. The base hit probably could have been an error, but Julio's speed helps create that error there. And then a good walk for Julio as well. So nice game and a great diving catch in center field earlier in this one as well. Cal 1 for 4, the solo home run. Again, just can't say enough good things about him. Randy 1 for 4 with the game-winning RBI single. Rowdy was 1 for 3, and then Leote, Cole Young, and Ben Williamson were all 0 for 3 on the day today. Did think Cole Young had one of the better at-bats early on against Paddock when he was at like 28 pitches through 3 innings. He at least was able to foul off some pitches, and I thought this was the first time through the lineup had one of the better at-bats in that situation. So we're not going to make any conclusions off Cole Young 2 games into his big league career, but nice win for the Mariners. They needed it. It feels good to win a series. Listen, it's hard to get, yesterday was exciting, right? But what really gets you exciting is when you can start stringing together wins, and then you start finding ways to win these type of games, right? Like one is great. Yesterday was great. You always want to win one, no matter what, even if you're in the midst of a brutal stretch, but it's when you start stacking wins together. And that's what today was, right? Now you got 2 in a row. Now you're back on the right track. And despite the team, let's go back to the road trip, right? They were 6-4 on the road trip, 7-6 after the National Series, and now 7-6. Yeah, so now 9-7 after this series. I don't think the team has been playing great baseball. The pitching's been a lot better. And I think, we have a tendency to kind of focus on the hitting sometimes. Pitching has been much better. So as a whole, I think it's been fine. But I think we'd all agree this team doesn't seem super dialed in. But they are 9-7 in their last 16. Even if you want to include the Yankees series, then they're, 10-9. And if you include the Jays, they're 10-12. That is not great, right? But you can survive that. They're not playing good baseball over the last 22 games. They certainly haven't looked like it, but they haven't cratered like I've talked about. That 10-12 is not 6-16. It's not 7-15 where you're going, oh man, like they are burying themselves. They're finding a way. Now, eventually you got to string together some wins here, right? 10-12 isn't going to get it done the rest of the way, but hopefully this is just a stretch where they're a little bit off. And if this is where, this is how they play when they're, off or a little bit off, then it's okay. You can survive these type of stretches because you're a sweep away from being, right back to where you were before this all started. Essentially, kind of that Padres series, right? Where it was brutal after the Blue Jays lost, but they come out, sweep San Diego. It doesn't undo anything. I'm not a big it cancels this out and stuff like that. But you don't let things start to slide. You can go win that Orioles series. You're 34-27. And I think, again, a place we'd all be fine with this team being. And I think we're all fine where they are right now at 32-26. But we just need to, I think most of it for Mariners fans, we just got to see it in September, October, right? I think that's really what it comes down to. At this point, we're kind of done with the journey. We want to see the end, or the destination. What's the old saying? It's not about the destination, about the journey. We're done with the journey. We want the destination. I think that's where a lot of people are just kind of like, even me sometimes, I'm like, yeah, I don't think these losses are the end of the world, but I've also seen it before and I've seen this script and then, they win games. It's like, are they really playing good ball? I don't know. Let's see where it ends up, but I'll be with you for the journey no matter what. And then we'll hopefully be celebrating the destination. Like, comment, subscribe. Nice series win for the Mariners. Enjoy it. Enjoy the off day tomorrow. And as always, go Mariners. Peace.